Nathan Segura, as well as we're going to hear from Jarvis Landry because he thinks Deshaun Watson should start, but Shedeur is the guy in the future. No Arch Manning for Jarvis Landry. But
I think Deshaun Watson is very much in the mix in that competition. He's the one guy we've seen play at a high level in the National Football League. I think, Shedeur showed a lot of flashes last year, and if he can make kind of a big jump from year one to year two, I don't see any reason why. I loved him coming out. I think that, we saw some really, really good from him. We saw some not so good from him as well. And I think that he's in the mix. And then Dylan Gabriel showed that I think he can be, a very effective game manager.
Something is already brewing in Cleveland, and it's the kind of tension you don't ignore. Before a single meaningful snap of the new season, before depth charts are even finalized, the conversation has already shifted toward a full-blown quarterback battle. Shedeur Sanders versus Deshaun Watson isn't just a storyline anymore. It's starting to feel inevitable. And if you're the Cleveland Browns, this is both an opportunity and a potential disaster waiting to unfold. Here's the part nobody is talking about. This isn't a fair fight on paper. Watson is the established name, the massive contract, the guy the franchise already committed to. But football doesn't care about contracts once the ball is snapped. If Shedeur starts showing flashes, real, undeniable flashes, the pressure builds instantly. Not just from fans, but from inside the building, because players in that locker room want one thing: the best chance to win.
Those are good things. Obviously, Tony Romo, I believe it was the Niners or the Bills game. Hey, great throws, great processing there from Shedeur. There's talent there that probably should have been developed better.
Now let's introduce the real tension. Watson is not just fighting for his job, he's fighting to justify everything the Browns invested in him. The expectations around him haven't just been high, they've been relentless. And when a quarterback carries that kind of weight, every mistake feels bigger. Every incomplete pass gets louder. Every slow start becomes a headline. Meanwhile, Shedeur walks in with a completely different kind of energy, young, confident, and with nothing to lose. This is where it gets dangerous, because quarterback competitions don't just affect the position, they affect the entire team. Receivers start building chemistry with one guy. The offensive line adjusts to a certain style of play. Coaches start leaning toward the quarterback who executes their vision best. And if there's even a slight divide, it can split the locker room in ways that aren't always visible from the outside.
Right, when your coach is out the door, when your coach doesn't even have a heart-to-heart conversation with you until the last week of the season, like these are the facts that kind of go into these things. Not really excuses, just the matter of the fact, right? Shedeur's got to be better, but he knows he's got to be better. He's been putting the work in.
Let's break this down from a football perspective. Watson, at his peak, is a dynamic playmaker. He can extend plays, create outside structure, and make throws that very few quarterbacks can. But that style also comes with risk, holding on to the ball too long, relying on improvisation, and sometimes missing the quick, easy throws that keep drives alive. On the other hand, Shedeur is more timing-based. He's comfortable operating within structure, getting the ball out quickly, and trusting the system. Here's the part nobody is talking about. Coaches often prefer predictability over flash. A quarterback who executes the play as designed, who hits the right read on time, who keeps the offense on schedule. That's incredibly valuable. And if Shedeur shows he can do that consistently, it creates a real dilemma, because now you're choosing between upside and stability.
Yeah. If this doesn't work out for Deshaun Watson in Cleveland this year, Shedeur gets the start. Is Deshaun's career essentially, who's picking him up?
This is where young players usually make a mistake. They try to outshine instead of out-execute. If Shedeur goes into this battle trying to make highlight plays every snap, he plays right into Watson's strengths. But if he stays disciplined, sticks to the system, and lets the game come to him, that's where things get interesting. Because then the conversation isn't about talent, it's about trust. Now let's zoom out for a second and connect this to what we see in the NBA. Quarterback battles in the NFL aren't that different from star dynamics in basketball. Think about situations where a veteran star is challenged by a younger, rising player. The tension, the scrutiny, the constant comparisons, it all feels familiar.
Look, this is what I should say. If Todd Monken is actually taking orders from the GM, there's probably going to be a push to get something out of Deshaun Watson. There's not, and I think as people who support Shedeur, I think we can't look at that as a negative thing.
Back to Cleveland, because this is where the narrative escalates. If Watson starts slow, even for a couple of games, the noise will get loud. Fans will start calling for Shedeur, analysts will start questioning decisions, and once that door cracks open, it's hard to close. On the flip side, if Watson comes out strong, it puts pressure on Shedeur to stay patient and develop without forcing the issue. This is where it gets dangerous, because the Browns don't just need a good quarterback, they need clarity. Uncertainty at the most important position in football can derail an entire season. You can't build rhythm, you can't establish identity, and you can't fully commit to a game plan if you're constantly second-guessing who should be under center.
Door doesn't start, I don't think we should be, oh, that's terrible, right? I think if Andrew Berry's in the building, he's in a good spot, right? If Andrew Berry's in the building, whether that means, hey, he gets traded to a more favorable place where, hey, they're in the Arch Manning sweepstakes or XYZ, or maybe, he does become the future.
Here's the part nobody's talking about. This battle might not be decided purely on performance. Contracts, politics, and long-term planning all play a role. Watson's deal isn't something you just move on from easily. But at the same time, if Shedeur proves he gives the team a better chance to win, ignoring that becomes a risk too. And that's the tightrope Cleveland is walking. Let's talk mentality, because this is where everything can shift. Watson has to approach this like his job depends on it, because it does. He can't afford slow starts or inconsistent stretches. Meanwhile, Shedeur has to balance confidence with patience. He has to be ready without trying to force his moment. And that's a difficult place for any young quarterback to be. This is where young players usually make a mistake. They think the opportunity has to happen right now, but in reality, sometimes the best thing you can do is be ready when it comes, not chase it. If Shedeur understands that, he puts himself in a much stronger position long term.
And slight advantage that Shedeur might compete with, again, a former MVP level caliber player, might just give the edge to Deshaun because of how big that contract is. But we'll see. There's going to be leadership factors and different things going in with it. But
now let's connect this to the bigger picture, the legacy angle. For Watson, this is about redemption and validation. It's about proving he can still be the franchise quarterback the Browns believed in. For Shedeur, it's about arrival. It's about showing he belongs at this level and can eventually lead a team. Two completely different journeys colliding in the same moment. And that's what makes this so compelling. This isn't just a competition, it's a crossroads. One player trying to hold on to his place, another trying to take it. One representing the past investment, the other representing the future potential. So now the question becomes, what happens when performance and expectation collide? If Shedeur outplays Watson in camp or preseason, do the Browns actually make the switch? Or do they stick with the veteran and hope it works out? Because whichever decision they make, it's going to define their season. And honestly, if you had to choose right now, are you betting on experience or are you betting on upside?